Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I'm speaking very quietly. Hannah's still in bed. It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet, but it's light enough to film. And if it looks a bit dark, I'll brighten it up with the software. A weather forecast update. This morning is going to be frosty and clear. And it will cloud over as we head towards lunchtime. Does that look like frosty and clear to you? How can they be 4 hours out with a forecast that's only 2 hours old? Well, just look out of the window like I do, like what I do. Anyway, so the chances of us working in the garden today are getting slimmer as hour by hour, so we might not be working outside today. We've got some things to do inside, including my haircut. So Hannah's not a hairdresser. She does quite a reasonable job. I'm quite happy with it, but it takes her a fair amount of time to do it. You know, sort of slow process. So hopefully we'll get that done. I'm not going to spend too long filming. I have got some new orchids for us to look at. Mojo's just checking that the garden's all right. Yeah, you're going up the vets tomorrow to sort your fur and claws out. Hopefully not too stressful for him, but it's got to be done. That's 10 o'clock tomorrow. Right, an update on this. First of all, as you can see, the water has gone. Now, I don't know where it's gone, and I don't really care, but it's gone. And the media has dried up. So clearing up this mess is not going to be much more than hoovering up the media and then mopping the floor. And what we have decided to do is the conservatory could do with a clean. The plastic's starting to get... Hang on, let's let Mojo in. I've got the door shut so that my voice doesn't carry so much. It's about time he settled down for his morning nap. Yeah, so if you have a look along the bottom there, you can see the black spots, the mould starting to come. Yeah, and luckily this is plastic. It wipes off with a cloth. It really is not a big deal. It's just that it's getting everything out of the way to do it. You know, so it is a tedious job, but everything moves. You know, all the shelving slides out of the way. It can all be got out of the way, and our idea is to sort of clear one side away, and then I'll wipe over the top part and Hannah will do the bottom part because she's okay with bending and I'm not so good at it. So between the two of us, we'll whiz along each side. It'll take longer moving the shelves and putting them back than it will cleaning the grow room. So we're hoping to do that today, and this is still in the back of my mind. I may still have a house inspection coming up. I mean, officially it should have been done a week or two after I paid my rent at the end of last month. Well, it's now the end of this month and I still haven't even had a phone call. And it was due the last time I paid my rent and I didn't get one. So I don't know whether they've just accepted the fact that they don't need to bother here anymore or what. Or maybe they're going to switch it to just once a year on my anniversary of when I moved in, which is, you know, when the rent's paid at the end of November for the start of December. I moved in December 21, so it'll be 3 years soon. Anyway, I've got some new orchids for you to see. The show was good yesterday. We had a nice time, met up with lots and lots of people I know from old days when I was a member at Bournemouth, and quite honestly, I mean, my Orchid Society now is Wessex. I think there were more Wessex Orchid Society people there, a lot of which are joint members, but quite a few just visiting as well. There were a lot of us there. I think we almost outnumbered the hosts. Anyway, that was that. I wanted to show you this. This is my Coelogyne speciosa, and it's the variety Burnham's, or Burnham, sorry, no S, and the second bloom has opened. Now, I really do hope that those two blooms are still with us in good condition to go to our show in 2 weeks' time. because if these blooms go over, it's going to take a while for the sequential buds to swell up and open, and that process isn't triggered while these blooms still exist. So we're either going to have these two or none. You can see the spike behind pushing on as well. That's coming on nicely. That's Moriana magnifica, and it is just that. In Burnham's display yesterday at the show, Arthur had several of those in bloom, and they are pretty stunning. And I've got another Coelogyne with spikes coming as well. So I've got three, two more to come into bloom in the not too distant future. So that's that. Right, new plants, 2. So we'll have an unwrapping ceremony. Obviously, to do that, I need to get the tripod out, so I'll get that set up and we'll give that a go. And then Hannah took quite a few pictures of some of the more unusual and good looking sort of orchids and everything yesterday, so I have got some photos to process. I was going to put the slideshow on the end of this video, that was the plan, but that was before I came away with 2 new orchids. So once we've had a look at those 2 orchids, that will do for today. Sorry, no proper Sunday chat, this is instead. And then the slideshow from the show I will probably post tomorrow. I know I don't normally post on Mondays, but that's supposedly the reserve slot for the gardening and bonsai now. But if we don't do any work in the garden, there won't be a gardening video, and I'm not doing any work on bonsai until we get out into the week at least, so there wouldn't be a video to fill the slot. So we'll use it for having a look at some of Bournemouth Orchid Society's plants. I don't video there, so we'll do that. So I'll get the tripod out. Oh, and a bit of news with my health thing. It's a very quick piece of news. You can't see it, but you would do if I had the tripod and I was stood in full view. We've gone in another hole on our belt, because I've been trying to work out whether it was viable or not, and not too tight and uncomfortable. But yesterday I spent half the day pulling my jeans up because they kept falling down. And it started to get annoying. So when I got home I thought, I wonder. And yes, I went in another hole on my belt. So that's 2 complete holes now, which is 2 inches. So that's 2 inches off of my waist. I'm pleased with that. Still more to go, not easing up. I haven't got strict regime or anything for losing weight. The things that I've cut out of my diet are doing the job. I don't need to do anything else, just keep up the good work and keep taking the tablets, annoyingly, but still that has to be done. I noticed poor old Isa has managed to get his Cymbidiums indoors and now he can't move. All over the floor. And this is the trouble with when you get plants this flipping size, you know, they take up a lot of space. They really do. I mean, look how much space my Cymbidiums take up. They're all on that top shelf. That is all of them. There aren't any more lurking, and there won't be any more unless I can get some little beauties like this, proper miniature. If I can get some more like this, then I will, but I'm not getting any more biggies. I've got more than enough. You know, and hopefully we will get blooms on all of them at some point, but most of mine were winter into spring bloomers. So it's probably a bit early for them to be doing loads of spikes. The true winter bloomers, you know, some of those are in bloom towards the beginning of December and bloom through into January and February. Those would be spiking now, but most of mine are not those. So, you know, I've got very few signs of spikes at the moment. You might have 1 or 2, I'm not sure. They haven't had close inspection, but now they're inside, they will. And we will have a close look at all of them on the bench with the tripod in the not too distant future. I'll get my little turntable out so that we can spin them round and have a good look, see how they're doing. More work. Oh, and as far as the collapsed bench is concerned, lots of sympathies, thank you very much everybody, but the most important thing was a couple of suggestions which make real sense. If one of the wheels has collapsed, the other 3 are in a similar boat. So although I've fixed one of them and put longer screws in, they all need to be done. So at some point I'll have to clear all the plants off. I'm planning to do that next time I change the water in the decer trays, because at that point they've got to be taken off, emptied out, and I can lift the cymbidiums off. They can go on the bench or somewhere out of the way. I can turn it upside down and get at it. But I need to get much larger, stronger, longer screws, because it is a weak point. You know, several people have said, why don't you just screw the casters onto the leg? Well, if I could have done that, I would have done, wouldn't I? The reason for those square pieces of wood is that's the shape of the casters. The shape of the leg doesn't match. So the idea was to screw the piece of wood onto the leg, and those are the 2 screws that failed, and then the 4 screws in each corner of the square top to the casters screws into that piece of wood. So it's always going to be a weak joint. The way to make it stronger, basically, is I could possibly include some wood glue. I haven't got any, but that's a possibility, but is to actually put much heavier grade, stronger, longer screws through that square piece of wood into the leg. That's the goal. So, and do all 4 of them, obviously. The amount of movement that's going to happen on this staging in here is negligible, plus it doesn't get a bumpy ride in here. Out here on the patio, these pavers are not all dead level. So as it's getting moved around, it bumps over the ridges and the bumps. It's quite a jar, you know, with the weight of the plants on top, especially when they're wet. So that's what's basically made those screws fail. But, you know, screws twice as fat and twice as long are going to make that joint twice as strong, obviously. So that's the plan. Right, I'll get the tripod out and we'll have a look at the 2 new plants. We'll do some unwrapping. One of these came from Burnham's, and it is one of their own seedlings. So it's a species and it's one of their own, so not bought in. The other one has come from Simon Pugh Jones, the Portland Orchids. And again, they propagate their own. He grows everything either by division or from seed out of flasks and brings them up, you know, and then sells them on. So his business is self-contained. He does buy in flasks of seedlings, but a lot of those flasks are now produced by him of his own seed. Yeah? So it's 2 species. Well, one of them's not a species. Technically, it's a primary cross. And I forgot what the ingredients are, but perhaps I'll look it up before I film it. I'll see. Anyway, we'll get the tripod out and have a look at the 2 new plants. They're not in bloom, they're just plants to grow on, and we'll see how we do. One of them's going to be a bit dodgy to grow, I must admit, and the other one will do fine. It'll fit in with ones I've already got. So let's get the tripod and have a look-see. Okay, let's start unwrapping. Do this one first. This is the one from Rislington, from Simon Pugh Jones, Portland Orchids. They have an online presence. They sell orchids online. They were at the Bournemouth show, Simon and his wife. They will also be at our show at Wessex in 2 weeks' time. Who knows, I might even find something else. This I didn't look for in amongst the plants. I actually asked. I actually said to Simon, have you got any so-and-sos that don't grow too big that I haven't already got that are cool growers? And you ask somebody like that, I said, yeah, I've got this one, and this one. It's just, he knows his plants inside out. So he's one of the lead judges in the country, so, you know, and obviously he knows his own plants very well. So what have we got then? I didn't look this up, so it's something I will do when I'm editing the video. I can put a pop-up, but I haven't done it now, so I won't be mentioning it. I'll be showing it as a pop-up. Right, so what we've got here, as well as the pop-up of the name and hopefully the, I call them ingredients, the actual two species that have made this particular cross. It is a primary cross, Simon said. Funny actually, I caught him out. That's what it's called, yeah? Is that in focus? Yes, I think it is. So it is Coelogyne granulosa. Granulosa. Yeah? And if it's a primary cross, what's it doing with a capital G and where's the X on the front? And when I pointed that out to Simon, he said, oh, that just confuses people, but yes, that is how it should have been written. If I do a label for it, I'll do it properly if I get round to it. So anyway, this is a plant to grow on. It's a Coelogyne. It doesn't grow enormous. It has a new growth pushing on. It's well rooted. It's got roots coming out the bottom of the pot. It's in a nice small pot, so it won't get overwatered. Given that the two new growths are right on the edge of a very small pot, this could do with lifting out gently and putting in a bigger round pot so that these have got more room to root. Yeah, doesn't need to be much bigger, but just big enough, because if you think, you know, this is a division, not grown from seed, not for this particular plant. You can tell that by the size of the oldest bulb, the leafless bulb at the back. But yeah, so it's pushed up two new growths from the latest bulb. That means it's quite happy growing and reasonably strong. These two bulbs have still got to develop into full-size bulbs, which means they're still producing roots. So we'll get this in a bigger pot as a now thing, not right today, but you know what I mean. Not something to wait till spring, we'll get it done. So that's that one. That's a Coelogyne to add to the collection. And as a cool growing Coelogyne, it should do well along with the others, shouldn't it? Right, then the contribution from Arthur, from Burnham's, as I said, he was quite pleased to say, I don't believe there were any others. I think this was the only one, and it was tucked away in amongst some of the flowering plants, but a non-flowering plant. So they didn't stand out. But I was looking for something, this was before I got the Coelogyne, I was looking for something to bring home. Can't go to a show and come home empty-handed. I didn't get the fertiliser I wanted, but I will get that at our show in 2 weeks' time. So what have we got then? If I can get it out of its mass of tissue paper. What attracted me to this from the distance was not what it was, but what it looked like. Because there was, firstly, no argument at all from a distance as to whether this was well rooted in or not. It stuck out like a sore thumb as a plant with a really good root system already established in its pot. And then again from a distance, and I thought, oh, there's a nice new growth as well. And then I sort of looked and I thought, yeah, that's actually been grown on. That's a seedling, not a division. Not that common at Burnham's. Yeah, mostly their big specimen plants get divided up and they sell them on. Anyway, so this has been grown from a seedling, one of their own seedlings. It's a species. Zygopetalum. Oh dear. They're difficult enough at the best of flipping times, zygos, and now I've gone to a species from a hybrid. The only beauty of having a species zygo is I can look up its required environment specifically. without having to make guesstimates, because it is a species. So it will have a certain temperature range and everything like that. But Arthur said it's not a warm grower. It doesn't live in their warm greenhouse. It lives in temperatures that go down to sort of 10 to 12 degrees on harsh winter days. Well, you know, it's only going to go down to 12, 13 in here, so it should be fine. Nice new growth, very well rooted, and in relatively recent bark, and as such won't need a repot yet. And there's plenty of room for that new growth to swell up and produce a decent bulb. So yes, we don't go mad with Coelogynes. They are notoriously a bit finicky. I won't say difficult. Most people lose a zygo not long after repotting. The repotting disturbance really upsets some of them, and it's so easy to damage the roots when you repot these little devils. So that's the other one. So we've got a new Coelogyne to go with the others, and a species, a Zygopetalum, which will be fun. So that's the two new plants. They're both nice plants. I mean, it's I've got no problems with a plant from Simon's establishment. You know, if a plant wasn't too good, he wouldn't bring it to a show. He's that sort of person. He's reliable. Some of the others maybe not so much. And likewise, you know, a lot of the plants that Burnham's buy in and sell on are often not that clever. Some of them have got very poor roots and everything. They're not their own plants. They've been bought in to sell on. Now, okay, you could say, well, they shouldn't do it. Well, if they didn't do that, they'd have hardly anything to sell and they'd go out of business. That is a part of their business, that sort of mass-produced stuff. That's where all their phalaenopsis are, in that set. But then they've got their own nursery. They do grow from seed. They do produce their own hybrids. They do all that as a proper nursery as well. So, and that's one of those. So I'm happy with that. And like I said, it's got a good root system showing there. So there we go. Two new plants. And that's it for today. I'm going to take my tablets now and await Hannah's presence, but she was incredibly tired yesterday. She said she hadn't been sleeping that well, and I said, you know, well, there's no reason to get up. You get up when you wake up, you know, and you don't even need to bother setting an alarm. We haven't got anything specific that has to be done that's going to take any time today, so we can have a leisurely day that's probably, looking at the way that weather's turning, going to be an indoor day. I said the only thing I'd really like to do outside is get the strimmer out and do all the edges around the patio, and then get that all cleared up and use the strimmer to get the bits of green out of the cracks to make it all nice and tidy for the winter. But the next thing is that oak tree is going to dump all its leaves, so you know that has to be done to be able to deal with the leaves with the leaf blower. If all the ivy's hanging out the sides and the edging hasn't been tidied, the leaf blower is going to get a lot of the leaves hooked up in all that and won't work properly. It won't do its job. So it has still got to be done. But Hannah will be down again in 4 weeks' time for my birthday weekend, and that is the weekend that's got the visit to Double H, the only UK mass producer, quite honestly. It's just up the road from where I live, literally, so I think it's 6 miles. It take about 15-20 minutes to get there. So I haven't got a journey to do or anything, and it's a 10 o'clock start, so we haven't got to get up early. Hannah's going to come down on the Friday that time to be here, because if I had to pick her up, there's no way we'd get back here for 10 o'clock. So yeah, she's coming down on the Friday, and that's actually on my birthday, which is a pain, but so be it. It's only in the morning. I think it's only a 2-hour tour, something like that, so we won't be there too long. And that then gives us Saturday afternoon and Sunday down here to be able perhaps to do some things in the garden and some other stuff. So we'll see how we go. I'm hoping to get my hair cut today, as I say. That'll be good. and we've got our Wessex Orchid Society show in 2 weeks' time, which I will be filming. And I've just found out that the following weekend the Devon Orchid Society have got their autumn show, which also involves Cornwall Orchid Society, South West Orchid Society and Bournemouth are joining in, so there'll be 4 societies at that show, and it's being held at Burnham's Nursery. I may go. I haven't made my mind up yet, but I might take that trip and have a day out at Burnham's. Yet to be decided. Now, if it's chucking it down with rain and the weather's miserable, I know it's an inside thing. Once you get there, you're in a nursery, aren't you? But it's a hazardous drive. You know, if the weather's really bad, it takes the edge off the day out, quite honestly. So it might be a last minute decision. We shall see. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for all the support for the channel and everything. And apart from a few negative individuals, I know who you are, the support for merging the channels together was great. I was well pleased with that. But as usual, Hannah comes up with a suggestion that nobody thought of, including me. That suggestion is, I spent a long time getting the other channel monetized. I have a monetized channel sitting there. It's difficult to get to that stage nowadays on YouTube, and I've already done it on that channel. That channel should be maintained on the grounds that I might come up with an idea totally unrelated to what that channel was created for, but the channel's sat there, monetized, and it should be maintained. And she said the easy way to maintain it, quite honestly, is when you post a gardening or a bonsai video on your now combined orchid garden and bonsai channel, why don't you post it on the other one as well? Even though it won't get many views, it will get some, and it will keep the channel ticking over and keep the monetization status. That's a good idea. It will need an explanatory video stuck on the front of that channel, because I haven't just told anybody there won't be any more videos posted there. Suddenly there will be some, but they will be duplicated. So anybody that's watching them here on this combined channel doesn't need to go over there as well, do they? But it will cater for people who only watch that channel and have nothing to do with the orchid channel. That might not have wanted to come over here to the combined unit. They might not have wanted to do that. If those videos only get a couple of views, it keeps the channel ticking over, and like many ideas Hannah comes up with, you know it makes sense, because the amount of work for me is negligible. I've already filmed and produced the video and ended up with the file to load on YouTube. All I've got to do is switch channels, load it and type a description. That's it. So the effort is totally minimal, and it'll keep the channel ticking over as a monetized channel for potential future use. You know, I might come up with a brand new hobby, you know, model aircraft or something, or you know, model railways, and have a little railway track and have a hat on and a little whistle and a little flag. Yeah, I am messing about. But the channel could be converted to anything. But to start from scratch and try and get to its current status is, you know, a year or more's work. So that work's already been done. So we'll keep the channel ticking over. I think it makes sense. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.